Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful for You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The very foundation of Los Angeles society, a city built on the precarious pillars of fashion, finance, and familial dysfunction, seems to shudder with a seismic shift that is both unprecedented and, in the grand, twisted tapestry of Forrester, Logan, Hayes, and Fuller history, utterly inevitable. The spoiler revealing that Hope Logan and Steffy Forrester would not merely declare a temporary, gritted-teeth truce but actively join forces in a strategic alliance against the burgeoning and deeply unsettling romantic union of their parents, Taylor Hayes and Deacon Sharp, sent shockwaves through the fandom, not merely for its dramatic potential but for its profound psychological implications. This isn't just a plot point, it's a paradigm shift, a narrative earthquake that cracks open the bedrock of the show's longest-running feuds and forces two women, who have viewed each other across a battlefield of betrayal, heartbreak, and shared lovers for over a decade, into the most uncomfortable and ironic of partnerships. The initial reaction, of course, is one of sheer, unadulterated disbelief, a sentiment perfectly encapsulated in Hope's likely whispered, gut punch of a line to Steffy in the relative privacy of the Forrester Creation CEO office, a room that has witnessed countless their confrontations. "I never thought I'd work with you." That single sentence, laden with years of baggage, says it all. It speaks to the stolen husbands, the bitter accusations, the custody battles over Douglas, the constant comparison of the hope for the future idealist versus the intimates powerhouse, and the omnipresent ghost of Liam Spencer, a man who has ping-ponged between them so frequently he's worn a path in the LA concrete. For Hope, Steffy has always been the ultimate obstacle, the seemingly insurmountable force of nature who represented everything she wasn't: bold, sexually confident, and fiercely territorial. For Steffy, Hope has been the perpetual victim, the good girl whose judgmental gaze and moral high ground masked a stubbornness that, in Steffy's eyes, was just as destructive as any of her own more overt actions. Yet, here they are, pushed into the same foxhole by a common enemy so bizarre and unnerving that it temporarily eclipses their own historic animosity, their own mothers. The pairing of Taylor and Deacon is not just a romance, it's a psychological grenade tossed directly into the living rooms of both families. For Hope, Deacon Sharp is her father, a man she has fought tirelessly to rehabilitate, to bring in from the cold, to legitimize in the eyes of the Forresters and the Logans. She has staked her own credibility on his redemption arc, believing in the good man buried beneath the checkered past of ex-convict shifts, scheming, and general chaos. Seeing him now, entangled with Steffy's mother, the world-renowned psychiatrist, the paragon of, occasionally unstable, maternal virtue, the former wife of the great Eric Forrester, isn't just awkward, it feels like a betrayal of that very redemption. In her mind, Deacon was finally on a stable path, a respected business owner, a doting grandfather to Beth. This liaison with Taylor feels like a regression, a dangerous step back into a world of drama and potential scandal that could undo all the painful progress he's made. She fears for him, certainly, but she also fears for herself and her children. This union destabilizes the fragile ecosystem she's built, dragging the bad old days of her father's reputation right back into the pristine, sun-drenched world she's tried to build with Thomas and Douglas. Conversely, for Steffy, the situation is a waking nightmare of a different flavor. Taylor Hayes is not just her mother, she is her North Star, her moral compass, however sporadically it has spun due to her own mental health struggles, the woman who stood by her through every crisis, from Liam's waffling to her addiction to painkillers. Taylor represents class, education, and a certain dignified grace, or at least she did. To see her now, swooning over Deacon Sharp, a man from the wrong side of the tracks, with a history intertwined with Sheila Carter, no less, is an utter humiliation and a source of genuine concern. In Steffy's worldview, Deacon is fundamentally beneath her mother. He's a walking reminder of the Logan chaos that Brooke brought into their lives, a man whose very presence at Il Giardino feels like a stain on the Forrester legacy. That her mother, a brilliant psychiatrist, could be blind to the potential pitfalls of this relationship is galling. She worries that Taylor is having a late-life crisis, that she's vulnerable after her final separation from Ridge, and that Deacon, with his street-smart charm and undeniable love for his daughter, is exploiting that vulnerability, whether consciously or not. Thus, the alliance is born not from affection, but from a shared, desperate necessity. The first strategy session between Hope and Steffy would be a masterpiece of awkward tension and reluctant concession. It wouldn't happen over a cozy lunch at Il Giardino, but perhaps in Steffy's office, after hours, the city lights twinkling outside like a carpet of fallen stars, a silent witness to this historic détente. The air would be thick with unspoken history. Hope, perched nervously on the edge of a chair, would speak with a measured, logical fear, outlining her concerns about Deacon's hard-won stability. Steffy, pacing behind her desk, would respond with fiery, impassioned frustration about her mother's judgment and reputation. They would find common ground in the sheer unpredictability of the pairing. "What's his endgame, Hope?" Steffy might demand, her voice sharp with suspicion. "Does he see a payday? A shortcut into the family business? My mother is a wealthy woman." Hope would immediately jump to his defense. "My father isn't like that anymore, Steffy. He loves me, he loves Beth, he's changed." But then she would hesitate, the seed of doubt planted. "But, with Taylor, it's all so public. So messy. And therein lies their unifying fear, the mess. The spectacle. The potential for this relationship to explode and shower everyone in the shrapnel of scandal." Their plan would likely be a multi-pronged approach. First, a direct, united confrontation with Taylor and Deacon together, a scene ripe with dramatic potential. Imagine the four of them at Deacon's apartment, the two daughters presenting a unified front against the bewildered couple. Hope's approach would be pleading, emotional. "Dad, please, think about what you're doing. Think about Beth, about me. This complicates everything." Steffy would be more direct, confrontational, her gaze locked on Taylor. "Mother, this is beneath you. He runs a restaurant. He's been in prison. He was married to Sheila. What are you thinking?" Taylor and Deacon, in response, would likely be defiant, perhaps even emboldened by the opposition. They would speak of finding unexpected solace in each other, of being two misunderstood people who see the real person beneath the public perception. Deacon might get uncharacteristically earnest, telling Hope, "Baby, for the first time I feel seen for who I am now, not who I was." Taylor would echo this, telling Steffy, "He's kind, and he's honest in a way people in our world rarely are. I'm happy, Steffy. Can't you just be happy for me?" This would only solidify the daughters' resolve, proving their parents are in a dangerous bubble of delusion. When direct confrontation fails, phase 2 of the Hope-Steffy pact would involve more covert, and arguably more dangerous, tactics. This is where their alliance would be truly tested. They might work to orchestrate chance encounters designed to highlight the vast chasm between Taylor and Deacon's worlds. Perhaps they would ensure Ridge or Brooke accidentally stumble upon the couple during a romantic moment, hoping the shock and disapproval from their original spouses would jolt them back to reality. Steffy, with her access to the corporate world, might float the idea of a business problem for Taylor that would demand all her attention, pulling her away from Deacon. Hope, leveraging her relationship with Brooke, might encourage her mother to express her own complicated feelings, a mix of betrayal, jealousy, and concern, to Deacon, hoping to guilt him into stepping back. The irony of Hope Logan, Brooke Logan's daughter, conspiring to break up a couple would not be lost on anyone, least of all the audience. The potential for blowback is enormous. If Taylor and Deacon discover the extent of their daughter's collusion, it could fracture both mother-daughter relationships irrevocably. Taylor, who has always seen Steffy as her rock, would feel profoundly betrayed. Deacon, who has built his entire world around Hope's approval, would be utterly devastated, feeling that despite all his efforts, his daughter still sees him as a project to be managed, not a man to be trusted. This storyline, therefore, isn't just about stopping a romance, it's a high-stakes exploration of parental redemption, the limits of forgiveness, and the painful process of children being forced to parent their parents. The spoilers suggest a fierce, emotional, and game-changing chapter for The Bold and the Beautiful, one where the most bitter of rivals become the most unlikely of allies, all in the name of preventing a union that, in their eyes, threatens to tear their already fractured families apart for good. The real drama won't just be in whether they succeed or fail, but in what this unholy alliance does to Hope and Steffy's relationship forever, and what pieces are left to pick up when the dust finally settles. Of course. The initial alliance between Hope and Steffy is merely the first crack in a dam that is about to burst, unleashing a flood of consequences that will redefine every relationship involved. Their partnership, born of sheer desperation, is a fragile entity, and the spoilers suggest it will be tested, strained, and pushed to its absolute breaking point almost immediately. The first major test arrives in the form of Forrester. Initially, both women might assume he will be their most powerful ally. Steffy, confident in her father's long-standing animosity towards Deacon and his complicated history with Taylor, immediately brings him into the fold, expecting his full-throated support. However, Ridge's reaction is not the furious condemnation they anticipate. Instead, he is contemplative, even strangely resigned. Having just endured his own roller coaster with Brooke and his own mother, Donna, he is weary of the endless romantic wars. He tells Steffy, "I've spent a lifetime fighting battles over who should be with who. Your mother is a grown woman, Steffy. If this is what she wants, who am I to stop her?" This perceived betrayal from her father sends Steffy into a tailspin. Her alliance with Hope was predicated on the idea that this was a universally recognized crisis. Ridge's refusal to engage makes her feel isolated, doubling down on her reliance on the one person who truly understands the gravity of the situation, Hope Logan. This creates a fascinating dynamic where Hope, for perhaps the first time ever, finds herself being the voice of fiery, impulsive action, while Steffy, though still fierce, is momentarily unmoored by her father's passivity. Meanwhile, Brooke Logan's reaction is its own special kind of hurricane. As Hope predicted, Brooke is not merely concerned, she is deeply, personally wounded. In a private, tear-filled confrontation with Hope, she reveals the true depth of her turmoil. "He chose her, Hope. After everything, after all the times I stood by him, defended him to your grandfather, to Ridge, he chooses Taylor Hayes?" For Brooke, this isn't just about Deacon's redemption, it's a direct slap in the face from history. Taylor has been her nemesis for decades, the perfect woman constantly held up in contrast to her own destructive nature. That Deacon, her one-time great love and the father of her child, would find solace in Taylor feels like the ultimate betrayal from both of them. Brooke, in her pain, becomes a volatile and unpredictable element in Hope and Steffy's strategy. She begins showing up at Il Giardino, not to cause a scene, but to be seen. She sits at the bar, a silent, mournful specter from Deacon's past, her presence alone meant to inflict guilt. This forces Hope into the uncomfortable position of having to manage her mother, pleading with her to step back, that her interventions are only making Deacon more defensive and solidifying his bond with Taylor through shared persecution. The turning point, the event that escalates the Cold War into a hot one, is a very public event, perhaps a fundraiser at the Forrester mansion or a gallery opening. It is here that Taylor and Deacon, dressed to the nines and glowing with the defiant happiness of a couple under siege, make their official debut as a united front. Seeing them together, so openly and unapologetically, in the heart of the Forrester world, acts as a catalyst for both Steffy and Hope. Any lingering doubts about their mission evaporate. In a hushed, furious conversation on a terrace overlooking the party, they realize their previous tactics were too soft. They're not listening to reason, Steffy would seethe, her eyes locked on her mother laughing with Deacon. "We tried talking. We tried logic." They see this as us being controlling children. Hope, her own heart aching at the sight of her father so seamlessly integrated into the world she once had to fight to bring him into, would agree, a new steel in her voice. "Then we have to show them the consequences. Not tell them. Show them." This leads to Phase 3, the investigation. Steffy, with her resources, begins a deep and uncompromising dive into Deacon's current business dealings, searching for any leverage, a shady partner, a financial discrepancy, anything to prove he's not the reformed man he claims to be. Simultaneously, Hope, leveraging her emotional connection, begins having pointed, probing conversations with Deacon about his future. "What are your long-term plans, Dad? With Taylor? Are you going to move into her villa? What about your life here, at the restaurant? What happens when this infatuation wears off? She probes his insecurities, asking if he's prepared for the constant whispers and judgments, if he's truly ready to be Mr. Taylor Hayes. This psychological warfare begins to take its toll. Deacon, who has been riding a wave of defiance, starts to show cracks. He becomes short-tempered at the restaurant. He questions Taylor, subtly, about how her friends really see him. The paradise the couple built for themselves begins to develop fractures from within, precisely as Hope and Steffy intended. The inevitable, explosive confrontation occurs when Steffy, in her investigation, discovers something, or perhaps manufactures a perception of something. Maybe she finds a series of large, unexplained cash withdrawals from the Il Giardino accounts, which Deacon could explain, but the context makes it look suspicious, or she uncovers that an old acquaintance from his shady past has been seen hanging around. She and Hope confront Taylor privately, presenting this evidence not as proof of a crime, but as proof of his inherent instability. "This is the man you're entrusting your life to, Mother?" Steffy would proclaim, slamming a folder down on a table. "The man who can't even keep his own finances in order? Or who still associates with criminals?" Taylor, a psychiatrist, would see right through this. Her fury would be cold and terrifying. "I am deeply, deeply disappointed in you, Steffy. In both of you. This is a witch hunt. You are so determined to break us up that you are willing to destroy a good man's character and your relationship with your own mother in the process." It is at this moment of maximum tension that Deacon would walk in. Seeing the folder, seeing the tears in Hope's eyes and the defiant fury on Steffy's face, the full scope of their conspiracy would dawn on him. The betrayal would be absolute. All the progress in his relationship with Hope would seem to evaporate. "You," he would say to Hope, his voice quiet and shattered. "My own daughter. You think so little of me? You and the great Steffy Forrester, looking down from your ivory tower, deciding I'm not good enough." This would be the moment the Hope-Steffy alliance fractures. Hope, seeing the utter devastation on her father's face, would break. "No, Dad, it's not like that. We were scared. But it's too late. The damage is done." Deacon would tell her that her fear has cost her father, and he and Taylor would leave, more united than ever by the persecution. In the aftermath, the fallout is catastrophic and personal. Hope is racked with guilt, realizing her actions may have permanently alienated the father she fought so hard to redeem. She blames Steffy for pushing the aggressive investigation. Steffy, in turn, blames Hope for her weakness and emotional collapse at the critical moment. Their alliance, built on a foundation of sand,